the Basketball World Cup. The 4-0 Americans meet Ukraine, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2.
The certified service experts at your Buick dealer would like you to think about anything but the maintenance of your Buick. That's their job. If you don't know worry-free service, you don't know Buick Certified Service. Visit BuickCertifiedService.com for the latest service offers and everyday value pricing.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
That's right, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Welcome back in Hour 2 of the Sports Fix. Kicking off, locked and loaded here on the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rock, Jerry Myers back with you. Welcome in across the spectrum of that network on TuneIn and Spreaker and Mixlr Live on thesportsfix.net, on digital delay on iHeartRadio and iTunes and Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud and CarPlay and all of that stuff. J-Rock back with you here as we roll on. Guys, phone lines have been blowing up throughout the show. For those of you that missed it at the beginning, most Thursdays are going to be like this. The phones will be open at the end of the broadcast because we've just boom, 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 and we only have the capability of hitting them one at a time. Thanks to Kendall Lewis for that last segment, looking ahead to the NFL and the Browns season. Now we're going to talk some Tribe with my man, Mike Vandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. You can't call, but you can talk on Facebook and Twitter and email. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. Email us, TheSportsFix@AOL.com. And as I said, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Danny Salazar said no more Mr. Nice Guy. He went out there and quieted them kiddies last night in a must-win, much needed victory for the Indians. Kind of washed the taste out of the first few Tigers games out of their mouth. Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com with us here. Mike, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good, Jerry. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for being with us, man. I know it took a minute, but we're here and we're doing the thing now. So thanks for sticking with us.
No problem.
How you feeling today, man? Danny Salazar went out there last night and didn't just help the Indians get a victory, but he helped them in a much more important way, too, in taking some of the load off of that bullpen. Went out there, gave you 120 pitches, and shut out the Detroit Tigers. A much-needed performance for the bullpen, for the Indians, for all of the reasons there. Talk to me a bit about last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think as excited as everyone was about Danny Salazar at this point a year ago, I think, you probably have as much reason to be as excited now. I think I think the light is coming on maybe a little brighter for Danny Salazar at this point than at any other point in his big league career. I mean, I think you can argue that really his start last night is probably as good or better than any start he's had in the last 2 years. And he and Trevor Bauer both, you start to see more and more consistency. And that's really the difference. I mean, I think we've seen in both of them over the last 2 years, we've seen their best and unfortunately we've seen their worst too. And the roller coaster in between. And I think for Salazar last night and for both he and Bauer, it seems as if we're starting to see a lot more good and a lot less bad. The good is becoming the norm. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be a key to, the rest of this season and I think into the future, because certainly there are two guys that this organization is going to be counting on, not just in 2014, but moving ahead.
And I'm not going to go there right now except for to make this statement, but with two eyes focused on tonight and tomorrow and all the stuff that matters now and just the corner of my eye looking ahead to the future, man, I'm telling you, it is hard, even with the ups and downs, not to look at these guys and go, man, the Tribe is going to have some pitching for the next couple of years, man, because you can see the tantalizing, it's right there, of what these guys could truly turn into.
Yeah, we can probably argue about that all winter long, and I agree with you. It definitely, at their best, they all look really good, but how often and how much of their best do you get? I mean, still remains to be seen. I still think that this team has to add a veteran over the winter to that starting rotation moving forward. At least one. I mean, realistically, probably one. You know, in my dream scenario, you'd add two, but realistically, I think you have to pursue a veteran. Because I think that they banked on all of their young pitching coming through this year, and it didn't work. So it looks great. I agree with you. At their best, they all look really, really good. But putting that best together all the time, you know, still remains to be seen.
Absolutely, you know, and I'm not looking at them for the case of all of them advancing together, because you know that's not how prospects work. That's not how young guys work. You know, you hit and miss. I'm just looking at the group of them and going, man, I mean, I think it's hard not to project at least 2 or 3 of them turning into what you think they're going to completely turn into. You know what I mean? Maybe not all of them, but a couple of them for sure. That's kind of what I mean.
I mean, I think the guys that are in the rotation now, I don't know that there's any argument that. I mean, I think Trevor Bauer and Danny Salazar especially, and, you know, at this point, I think you have to toss Carlos Carrasco into this statement of, I mean, they're guys who have the potential to pitch at the front of a rotation. I mean, we've talked throughout the year about the Indians, you know, having Corey Kluber and then, you know, a bunch of guys that, you know, are 4s and 5s. Well, you know, I mean, I think all 4 of those guys at this point have the potential to be 1s and 2s. I mean, like you said, they have the opportunity to have, you know, a really special starting rotation moving forward, and hopefully that continues to develop. But like you said, it doesn't all come together at the same time necessarily, or as you hope that it would. So people, you know, grow at different rates. I mean, look at Carrasco. I feel like he's closer to retirement than his rookie year. It's been so long that he's been around, and it seems like, you know, the light bulb's just going on right now. It's a really nice light bulb, I'll tell you that. But, you know, it just seems like it's been forever.
Absolutely. Cliff Lee may be retired before the payback for that starts to kick in there.
And Cliff Lee seriously has been on 4 teams since Carlos Carrasco was dealt.
He's been traded 3 times, you know? I mean, there's other prospects have cashed in for those deals too. So, but I'm with you, man. And matter of fact, the other day when I was talking about Carrasco, we came in the day after his start, and I'm like, I could hear Mike if he's listening right now. I said it on the air. I said he's probably like, yeah, but let's see another one. But now you are getting to the point where you're going, man, okay, maybe this is going to stick. And we were talking about them all coming up together, but things coming together. One of the things we've talked about all season is when they're pitching, they're not hitting. When they're hitting, they're not pitching. When they're doing both, they're not fielding the ball. All of that inconsistency. One of the reasons things are coming together now is that things are coming together at the same time. While the pitching has really gotten itself together and gotten stronger here, you got guys heating up offensively. You know, I mean, just looking at some of the guys, you know, the Indians sent me some notes on some guys here. Look at Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is, in his last 20 games, he's hitting .340. He's got 7 extra base hits. Gomes has just been, really since that beginning of the season when he was, you know, catching up. I don't know what it was, but everything was going a little haywire for him. But his last 36
he was like
games,
kidnapped.
Exactly.
Like, the guy that was like kidnapped for like 6 weeks. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. I mean, I so vividly remember actually wondering to myself, like, is there something wrong with his vision? Right. And then it was like someone snapped their fingers and he came back to normal.
It was Invasion of the Body Snatchers, man. There was a pod in the locker room that said Gomes, and then he escaped or something and got himself back. But his last 36 games, he's hitting .365. And Chisenhall, which I mentioned a couple of days ago, to me, and it looks like it is turning into a stretch here and not just a couple of games. When he warmed up, I said that's going to be key because that was one of the cogs of that offense earlier in the season, and then he went cold for that stretch. But his last 10 games, he's hitting .450. He's got 5 doubles and 6 RBIs in that run. Carlos Santana continues to come through with some power ball for the Indians here the last few games. All of those things coming together, and now the pitching, that is what's got the Indians in the position that they're in. Speaking of Team of Destiny, where are you at with me right now? I know you're still not simpatico yet, but how close are you getting to me? Are you feeling it yet, Are you feeling it?
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it definitely a lot more than I did most of the summer. I mean, we've talked ad nauseum. I mean, I've never been a big fan of this team as far as what I think their capabilities or where they'll finish for this year. But I mean, they've certainly played their best baseball in the last month of August, and I mean, don't get too high or too low off of a couple losses to Detroit. I mean, they're playing their best baseball right now for all the reasons you just outlined. And I don't know that I'm ready to jump on the team of destiny bandwagon, but I can't sit here and I guess poo-poo it or say there's no way either. I mean, I think the weekend in Kansas City. I mean, I think that might be the best 3-game stretch that they've played all year. And whatever is the voodoo that the Tigers seem to have over the Indians, that voodoo is still working. And I think tonight's a key game. We'll say that all the way to the end, I think. But, I think tonight's a key game to get a split in that series and at least, get out with Detroit even where you were when you started. But, I mean, they've definitely proven in August and early on in September that, they're playing their best right now, and they've proven that in this, 30-game stretch that they've played really well. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm ready to jump on the team of destiny bandwagon like you are, but I think they've definitely played well enough that they're going to make this interesting to the end.
I didn't jump on it. I created the team of destiny bandwagon.
You did.
Let's clarify that, man. When I get them right, I get them right. When I get them wrong, as Asdrubal Cabrera was not the MVP of the season offensively this year, but I'll admit when I get him wrong, But anyways, hey, man, he still may have contributed a piece because he got young Babe Ruth here, so you never know how.
Russell Branyan Jr.
Russell Branyan Jr., man, yeah, absolutely. I was joking. I told the listeners about our conversation the other day. I said Giambi's coming. I told Mike. I said Roy Hobbs has got one more act. It's in the script. And I told him, you said, last year against Chicago. That already happened.
Yeah, I was at the game. It's a great ending to the story.
Was there.
I loved it.
But hey, he's back. He got a hit. He's back in the lineup here. He's from time to time. I'm telling you, I've already made the prediction on the air. Sometime in the month of September, the name Giambi is going to have some significance for one morning here in Cleveland. I'm telling you, man.
You'd probably take the lineup card out, or do
they
play any of his former teams still? I guess they're done with New York and Oakland. I'm sure there'll be some tie-in, or maybe they'll do something about people that are really old still playing baseball. So they'll have to mention him.
He's got one moment left. I'm telling you, he's got one September home run left in that bat. That gray beard is coming through one more time. You watch.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. I'll be, talking about admitting, when you're wrong. They're closer and they're playing better than I ever expected as they get into September. So, anything's possible. But I'm not gonna stay glued to my TV waiting for that Giambi moment. I think his moments are up. That story ended last year when that ball was crushed to right field.
I was there. I saw it. You know what? Talking about destiny, and we mentioned these Indian starters. Let's go back to 2007. That was a decent year for the Indians. With Salazar's complete game shutout, he became the third Indian starter to throw a complete game shutout this year. Last time Tribe did that was 2007. Paul Bird, Roberto Fausto Hernandez, and CeCe were the three that did it then. So, but again, it speaks to that rotation, at least beginning to come together. By the way, last Tribe pitcher to do what Salazar did last night against Detroit was Jarrett Wright back in 98. I'm just saying, we keep hearing the 90s. Anytime you hear that, it's a good thing when you're talking about destiny here, when you're looking at landmarks and milestones and all of that, man.
It could be. Like I said, I'm not jumping on the team of destiny bandwagon, but But I do think, and I know I've mentioned this before, I think the longer they stay in it and the more they play